this is what I find interesting. Like, so you were actually about to quit acting right before you got Schitt's Creek, right?
Yes. Just before Schitt's Creek, things were quite bleak. My house had just burnt down. I had like $3 in my bank account. Things were, I hadn't worked in close to 2 years. Oh, and I had just blown my very first screen test, like blown it. And I found myself crying in the Pacific Ocean, a very snotty cry. Aww. And the universe was like, don't do this anymore. This is not for you. But then 2 days later, I got the audition for Schitt's Creek.
That is sad. I love that you tell this story, though, because a lot of people wouldn't tell that, and I think it's really cool because I do have friends that are actors, and it's a very hard job. It's either you're like really winning or you're just like really gone. Like, you know, it's kind of, and same thing in music, but it's just really cool that you're open about it. Like, because everybody goes through those moments where you're like, oh my gosh, like, is this, or should I move on, or should I do this? Yeah. And I love that you're open about it. I also love that you're hilarious, and one of my favorite shows of all time.
Thanks.
So, but Annie, after your audition, your hair color almost lost you the job, correct?
Yeah.
That's crazy, since, you know, you can dye your hair.
You can.
Yeah.
But my sweet Eugene Levy, he had a hard time wrapping his head around that because they did like an initial presentation pilot for the show.
Yeah.
And in the pilot, Abby Elliott, who's Chris Elliott's daughter and is amazing, she played Alexis.
Yeah.
And she's very blonde, and luckily she's like a very successul actor who was too busy to do the show, so I owe her my job and my life. But yeah, Eugene was so set in the blonde thing. It was like, wow. Like Dan Caldwin was like, we found Alexis, and Eugene was like, but you know, she has a brown hair and
their impression is
blonde, and Dan was like, Dad, we can just dye her hair, like it's not that big a deal. And finally Dan won out, and it was like a happy medium. We've done like this situation, which Eugene could deal with. Yeah.
That's awesome, and God is in the details, I guess, Eugene. So Annie, the show is ending. Were y'all all emotional, like at the end? Because I imagine when you have a great cast like that, it's like sucks when it ends.
Yeah. It was 5 of the best years of my life, but I kept my emotion to myself for the most part, and like, you know, kept it in the realm of my shower at home. But Dan, whose show, you know, has been the showrunner of the show, at table reads, like the last 3 table reads, would start doing this thing that we started calling the noise, which is like, kind of like this. And it was like his face was eating itself. And it would just be him trying to keep his emotion in so desperately. And we'd make fun of him for it.
Cool, totally, as a friend does.
Yeah, as a friend does. And he would get so angry that I was like more or less emotionless. But then cut to our last day of work and my last day of shooting, and I am just...
Puddle.
Oh, the messiest, gnarliest looking
I know,
beast.
I wish I could like Rachel McAdams cry from The Notebook, but it's just not in the cards.
It's not reality.
Yeah,
it's not.
That's not real. She is really good at that.
She's very good at it.
Yeah, it just looks like, oh no. Are you surprised with how popular that song? My entire crew loves that song. They want this song.
Thank them. This song, well,
because you wrote it.
I wrote it with 2 of my best buds, who are musicians. So they did like the, you know, music.
Yes.
And I wrote the lyrics, and we all secretly, we knew it had to be funny.
Yeah.
But we all were like, we want to write a banger so badly. Like
it's so good. So have you ever heard this song before?
We'd heard it today, actually. I must it was the first time, but
You're
likewise,
welcome.
I can't get it out of my head.
Sorry.
And I'm very happy that I can't get it out of my head.
It's the la. Yes, it's so clever.
Be careful when you're driving later, because it really gets to you.
How did you come up with the dance moves? Because that's what makes it epic as well.
I came up with the dance moves, shockingly, by myself, in my trailer about 20 minutes before we shot, and I called Sarah Levian, who plays Twyla on the show, and I was like, Sarah, watch this, what do you think? And she was like, oh, that's really, really bad. And I was like, nice.
You're like, nailed it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, earlier I asked if you would sing a little bit of Alexis with me. You want to do it? Let's do it!
Yes.
All right, let's do it! I'm gonna do it! I remember this. Oh, God.
Gotta get my arm.
Oh, you're awesome.
Are you ready? Let's do it.
What's that?
I'm a Lamborghini. I'm a Hollywood star. I'm a little bit tipsy when I drive my car. I'm expensive sushi. I'm a cute yacht. I'm a little bit single, even when I'm not. I'm a little bit.
I'm a classic Bronco. I'm on Texas time. I'm a whole lot of tipsy when I drink fine wine. I got like 20 jobs and I talk a lot. I'm a whole lot married. My man's so hot.
I'm a little bit.
I'm a whole lot.
I'm a little bit.
I'm a whole lot.
La 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 la. A little bit Alexis.
La 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 la. And a whole lot of Texas.
Hide your diamonds.
Hide your exes.
I'm a little bit Alexis.
Oh my God. Okay, everybody knows this, but your dad is Eugene Levy, and
Yes.
y'all co-star together. But I'm just wondering, like, because he's quite the comedian. Like, did he ever embarrass you as a kid?
100%.
Yes.
That's the tricky thing about having a dad who is funny is, you know, when you get in fights with your parents growing up, usually you can just sort of buffer that because your dad isn't doing weird voices and characters back to you to try and get you to break the anger, which is what was happening with me. So he would sort of push it time and time again and do like either a voice or a character when things got really rough, and I would crack and be so mad that I laughed because I was really upset that I was grounded or something.
We just had Annie on here actually too, and I mean, she is so much fun. But she said you throw a good brunch.
I can't make anything but breakfast foods.
I only love breakfast.
Great.
But I mean, what did she bring to your brunch?
So I would, when we were shooting the show, I would host these brunches. So Annie shows up one time. I guess she felt bad that she was coming empty-handed, and stopped by a KFC on the way to my brunch. Showed up with a bucket of chicken. I had been slaving away since 7:30 in the morning
Like
because
Fancy
things
Nancy
take
with all the-
100%. I had baking to do. And she shows up with this bucket of KFC. My food was still on the table. The bucket was empty. Everybody, it was like, people were just about to try my pancakes and then saw the chicken and were like, no, I'm going for this. And
Oh my
that's
God,
how
she
it went.
showed
She
you
stole
up at
my
your
whole
own brunch.
brunch.
She stole your thunder.
I know. Can I just talk about the fact that a Little Bit Alexis?
Oh my, it was my favorite. It was my musical director's idea. He's the one that got me into her show. And it was my favorite thing I've literally ever done in my life musically.
Watched the
I've done
clip.
a lot of cool things, but that is my favorite.
The clip hit the internet. I watched it. I let out a scream that could be heard across the ocean. It was the single greatest piece of television I think I've ever seen. And that's including us talking right now. So that's really generous of me.
No, but I love it. You know what? On the bounce. The bounce was the grossest thing ever. It was really hard though to like, for a person that's, you know, I'm supposed to have rhythm. So it was really hard. She kept laughing at me because she was like, can you look more awkward? I'm like, I'm really trying. I was really trying. But anyway, you make me laugh and now you're quitting and whatever. So I'm just kidding. So is it a hard thing that it's ending though, for real?
Oh God, I mean,
'Cause it's your baby.
I can't truly express how devastating it was to say goodbye to these people. I mean, we are such a close-knit family. I love the show so deeply.
Well, you literally are family though.
In many cases, we are family. And I think I've just given my whole heart and soul to the show, so knowing that it was ending, I was a mess. And I'm like a crier, generally speaking.
Me too.
And Annie, speaking of, didn't cry at all. Table reads, the last table read of our entire episode, dry as a bone.
Is she dead?
And I'm thinking to myself, is she dead inside? What's going on? The last scene we shot of our entire show, she loses it and cannot stop crying through the entire rehearsal to the point where I'm like, we have a show to make. Now is not the time. Of all the times to start crying, now's the worst one. But it was very funny because I'm like, will she ever break? And then she broke big time.
Oh, I love it. I miss Schitt's Creek. Do you miss it? Because it was such a great cast.
I actually do. I do miss it. I miss doing it, you know.
Yeah.
When we actually wrapped the series, I said to myself, what are we doing? This
so
could be
fun.
going on, but it was the right decision.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I was so sad.
Well, you never want to take a chance that you're going to go into another season and it's just not going to be quite as good.
I get it,
Yeah.
but at the same time, mad, whatever. And do you ever watch old episodes, like when they come on?
Well, now that the show is in syndication, you know, when you're kind of channel flipping,
It's like
I
always on,
will sometimes see the show on the air. And to be honest, I can watch it now as if I wasn't really in it.
Wow.
You know, I mean, I can actually watch it as a television episode just to see how everything holds up, you know?
Yeah.
Because when you're doing a show, you have a tendency sometimes to maybe only look at yourself when you're looking at the show.
Bit egocentric.
I don't know if you ever kind of go through that at all, but you find yourself focused on yourself quite a bit just to see how am I doing, how do I look in this scene? Well, that's great. This is great. I'm holding up my end of the scene. Yeah. And then the more you kind of, see it during the editing process and everything else, the more you're looking at an episode, then you kind of notice everything else, right? But it's an actor's thing, I think. I don't honestly know if it's possible for an actor to look at himself in a scene and look at the scene without looking at himself. I mean, it's...
I was gonna say that, yeah. Well, it is amazing though to point out though, editors are amazing because after doing The Voice, like it's one of those things where you're in it, so like you said, you're in it, you're doing your thing, but then you watch it back and how they edit it together, these people are so gifted at what they do. They make you look funnier. Yeah. They make the show better. I'm just like, wait, that's not how it happened. What? I was like, they make us look way better. The editors are
because
amazing.
There's too many moments you can remember as being kind of bad moments that I wish I could take back, and yet you don't see it.
They're good.
When
They're
it's
very
in the final
gifted.
product, right? Because they have snipped it out.
Yeah.
Good.
I know. God bless them. So why did you, like really, why did you want to write a book on the show?
You know, our fans are, when it comes to Schitt's Creek knowledge, they are the most intelligent. They're like Mensa. They know every single thing about the show. So we wanted to give them a book that they would find interesting and things in the book that they actually would find interesting and not necessarily, know everything about.
Yeah.
Right? And on social media, over the years when we were doing our show, a lot of great stuff would come out in social media. People would be painting, things and caricatures and settings and scenes. Yeah. And we used a lot of that fan art in the book as an acknowledgement to the people who actually went above and beyond in helping to promote the show that they loved. And it's the actors talking about their characters and talking about their favorite scenes in the show and oh God, everything you wanted to know about Moira's wigs, and it's all in there, and we're hoping that the fans really love it.
Oh, I imagine they'll be so proud too. It's so cool of you to involve them, to have them be a part of it as well. That's so cool.
Well, they were such a big part of the success of our show because they social media, when people take to what you do and they're so passionate about it,
it can turn things around
real quick. It can really turn things around. They can't stop talking about it, and it became infectious. It really helped spread the word. So this was like a little love letter to our fans. Yeah.
Well, speaking of wigs, you brought it up. The book has this picture of you, which is fantastic. So what's going on here, and how many drugs were you on?
Well, that was taken.
I mean, it looks
that was
awesome.
taken on after we wrapped the series, after our very last scene doing the show, which was outside at the Rosebud Motel, and we finished. We popped some champagne, and I was feeling rather merry. And one of Moira's wigs was being kind of passed around one of the trailers at that point, and we were all kind of, in there together telling stories and congratulating each other and crying and saying goodbye. And somebody put the wig on me, and
And caption.
it felt so good.
I do feel like you should have an English accent and you should be stoned. Like, I think it would be a really great character for something. Well, Dan wrote some things on the show just to tease you, right? What was one? I heard it had to do something maybe with your hair.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there was one.
I love this episode.
That's the one. Okay, I'm a little picky about my hair. And it's not, you know, it's not vanity. It's not vanity. It's just really tough hair to do, you know, for me. I mean, I'm looking at it now, and it's like it's got a little whoopity-doo curl in the front. I can't do anything about it. So I'm kind of touchy about, you know, just getting my hair. It takes a while to get my hair to look the way I think it should.
Yes.
He wrote an episode called The Drip, where I'm lying in bed, and all night a drip has been dripping on my head, and I wake up soaked. And you know, when I read the scene, I said, oh, Dad, really? It can't drip anywhere else except on my hair? I mean, yeah, okay, I'll do it. We were shooting the scene, and I take a break, and I look in that little hand mirror. I said, can I borrow a little mirror? And I check the mirror, and I'm going, okay, it's all right. I think I can live with this. And then I hear a voice saying, I think it should be more wet. That was Daniel.
Which is Daniel.
That was Daniel. And I said, really? He said, yeah, I don't think it's going to play unless it's really got to look like it's wet.
This is for not getting him something at Christmas.
Yeah, it's from something, and I could never to this day track exactly what it was. But we did the scene, and he got such a kick out of it, honestly. I mean, I got as much fun watching him watching me being as miserable as I was doing the scene. But it all worked for the scene, and I got it, and I knew why the hair had to be wet, so I went ahead and did it.
You leaned in.
I leaned in.
That's a real man, y'all.
Well, I'm a pro.